You are about to discover how a gun that looked like plumbing parts became one of the most important weapons of World War II. This is the story of the Sten Gun, a weapon so cheap it cost $10, yet it armed millions and changed history. Stick around because the truth is way more interesting than you think. June 1940. Dunkirk beaches went silent after Britain's desperate evacuation. Over 300,000 soldiers escaped, but they left behind everything: 11,000 machine guns, 85,000 vehicles. Britain stood alone against Nazi Germany with almost no weapons. How do you arm an entire country when you are broke and invasion is coming? Two engineers at the Royal Small Arms Factory had the answer. Major Reginald Shepard and Harold Turpin designed a submachine gun faster and cheaper than anything before. In just 36 days, they built the first prototype from a Vickers machine gun tripod leg. Yes, scrap metal. The result was the Sten, named from their initials in Enfield. Here's where it gets wild. The Sten cost only £2, about $10. Compare that to the Thompson submachine gun Britain bought from America for $200 each. 20 times cheaper. By war's end, Britain produced over 4 million Stens. Soldiers called it the plumber's nightmare and stench gun. One saying claimed it was made by Marks and Spencer out of Woolworth. Translation: department store junk. But when Nazi invasion loomed, nobody cared. The Sten fired 8 rounds per second and could be built by anyone with basic metalworking skills. Bicycle shops made them. Sewing machine factories made them. Garages made them. The gun had only 47 parts, mostly stamped sheet metal. Only the barrel and bolt needed precision machining. Britain turned the entire country into a weapons factory overnight. The Sten's simplicity became a lifeline for resistance fighters across Nazi-occupied Europe. The gun disassembled completely and hid in a shopping basket, perfect for underground fighters avoiding German patrols. Some resistance groups went further. They built Stens from scratch in secret workshops under Nazi occupation. Poland was where the Sten reached legendary status. The Polish Home Army received 11,000 Stens from British airdrops between 1942 and 1944. Not enough. Polish engineers copied the design. At least 23 underground workshops manufactured Sten variants. While Nazi soldiers patrolled streets above, Polish fighters built submachine guns in basements below. Most impressive was the Bleska Łeka, lightning in Polish. Engineers Wacław Zarotny and Soren Wielenir combined Sten and German MP40 features. They set up assembly in a Catholic church cellar in Warsaw. To test fire without alerting German patrols, they built a concrete tunnel under the church and only fired during rush hour when street noise covered the sound. Innovative problem solving. They contracted parts from over 20 manufacturers across Warsaw to avoid detection. One workshop officially made chicken wire. Underground, they assembled submachine guns. By the Warsaw Uprising in 1944, 600 Bleskawikas existed, plus hundreds more Polish Sten copies. Danes made them in bicycle shops. Norwegians stamped fake British markings to hide their origin. Why was the Sten perfect for resistance? 3 reasons. First, it used 9mm ammunition, same as German pistols and MP40s. Captured enemy ammo worked. Second, incredibly simple to maintain with basic tools. Third, the Sten worked without lubrication. In dirty, desperate conditions, that saved lives. In the hands of resistance fighters, it was exactly what they needed. Now, why soldiers hated this gun? The Sten had serious problems. The side-mounted magazine jammed constantly if you loaded all 32 rounds. Stop at 28 or face feeding problems. Here is the scary part. The Sten could fire by itself. Drop it wrong, accidental discharge. Bump the stock too hard, and the bolt bounces back, chambers around, and fires. In 1942, a Sten accidentally discharged during a British paratroop jump and wounded 4 paratroopers. More casualties than the enemy that day. Some soldiers use this as a tactic. Cock the Sten, throw it through a window. It hits the floor and starts firing full automatic. British troops kick in the door while Germans dive for cover. Terrifying but effective. The safety was a notch holding the bolt back. That was it, a slot in the receiver where you push the cocking handle. Where made it less reliable? A popular joke asked the best way to clear a room with a Sten. Answer: cock it and throw it in. Dark humor based on real danger. Manufacturing quality varied wildly. Parts came from hundreds of workshops. Quality control was impossible. Soldiers test-fired new Stens extensively before trusting them. A last-minute issue of untested Stens before a mission was bad news. Mark II and III versions were especially temperamental. Later Mark V improved things, but the reputation was set. Yet soldiers kept using them. British paratrooper Alan Lee said the Sten was unreliable past 100 yards, but for close quarters, it worked. Clearing houses, having hundreds of rounds per minute mattered more than pretty finish. If your Sten broke, grab another. They were disposable. Want to know if a weapon design is good? Check if enemies copy it. By late 1944, Germany was desperate. The MP40 was too expensive. German engineers did something surprising. They copied the Sten. The first copy was the Garrett Potsdam. Mauser made exact replicas of British Sten Mark IIs, down to British manufacturing stamps. Why perfect copies? For German guerrilla fighters behind Allied lines, captured weapons would look British. 10,000 made in 6 weeks. Germany needed more guns, cheaper and faster. Enter the MP3 Zone 8, the People's Submachine Gun. Engineer Ludwig Vorgrimler simplified the Sten further. He stripped the barrel shroud and changed to a vertical magazine using MP40 mags. Just as crude as the Sten, maybe cruder. The MP308 was made in tiny workshops across Germany. Quality varied. Wire stocks, wooden stocks, metal grips, none. Germany ordered over 1 million. Only a few thousand made before war ended. The fact that Germany, famous for precision engineering, copied the ugly British Sten says everything. Simple and cheap beats, complex and expensive. The irony, British soldiers said it looked like junk. German engineers studied captured Stens and said this is brilliant. The Sten influenced worldwide weapons design. The Swedish K was a refined Sten. The Israeli Uzi drew from Sten's stamped metal construction. The philosophy remains, make it simple, make it cheap, make it work. Why did the Sten become iconic when unreliable, ugly, and dangerous? Because it did exactly what was needed when it mattered most. In 1940, Britain needed millions of guns immediately. The Sten delivered. Traditional gun making would have taken years and cost a fortune. The Sten was ready in weeks. Yes, it jammed. Yes, it fired accidentally. Yes, soldiers hated it. But it armed the British Army when they had nothing. It gave resistance fighters a weapon they could build themselves. It cost almost nothing. In total war, those factors mattered more than perfection. A working Sten beats no gun. The Sten stayed in service until the 1960s, 20 years after the war. Canadian forces used Stens in Korea, Israeli forces in 1948. It appeared in conflicts worldwide for decades. Not bad for a weapon designed in 36 days costing $10. Today, the Sten represents innovation under pressure. Simple, cheap solutions can be more valuable than expensive, complex ones. Good enough right now beats perfect. Too late. The Sten myth is not about the gun being secretly amazing. It is about being exactly good enough when nothing else worked. Britain needed a miracle weapon in 1940. They got a tube with a trigger. Somehow that was enough. The Sten proved the best weapon is not the coolest or most perfect. It is the one that exists when you need it. That is why this ugly, unreliable, $10 submachine gun became one of the most iconic weapons in history. When the world was falling apart, the Sten gun was there, and that made all the difference. Image generations.